Number 5. Mansa Musa. Imagine a man so rich, he could crush entire economies just by passing through on a road trip. Well, that's more or less the story of Mansa Musa, the ninth Mansa of the Mali Empire. He rose to power in 1312, after his predecessor and relative, Abu Bakr II, mysteriously disappeared on a bold expedition to explore the Atlantic. From then until his death in 1337, Musa led Mali to its golden age. The empire became the world's largest producer of gold, while also dominating the salt trade and controlling the key routes that carried wealth across the Sahara. His most famous event? His pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324. He traveled with a caravan of 60,000 men and thousands of pounds of gold. In Cairo, a city he treated like his own personal Las Vegas, he spent and gave away so much gold that he caused inflation lasting over a decade. He was literally too generous for his own good. Before leaving Cairo, Musa had to borrow gold at high interest just to help stabilize the economy he had unintentionally wrecked. But that was no big deal for a man who controlled 50% of the world's gold supply at the time, equal to about $12 trillion in today's money. Number 4. Heshen. In 18th century China, during the reign of the Qianlong Emperor, one man rose from obscurity to become the richest official the empire had ever seen. Heshen. Born in 1750 to a modest Manchu family, Heshen rose quickly in the imperial court. In his 20s, he caught the eye of the Qianlong Emperor. Some praised his charm and intelligence, while others joked it was simply his good looks. Either way, he became the emperor's favorite. Within a few years, he climbed to the highest offices: Grand Counselor, Minister of Revenue, even handling military logistics. And when the emperor needed a new right-hand man, who wouldn't have fit better than the good-looking young Heshen? As the emperor's right hand, he controlled appointments, supplies, and most importantly, money. And he used that power to build a fortune through bribes, embezzlement, and cuts from nearly every deal in the empire. He was said to take a cut from every official appointment, military supply order, and tax collection, basically creating his own tax for personal benefits.
All right, that's everything. All taxes paid, all accounts settled.
Not quite. Something's missing.
Impossible. We paid the grain tax, the salt tax, and even the bridge tolls.
You forgot the most important one. The Heshen tax.
Yes. The totally not suspicious tax conveniently named after you. Of course, 10% off the top.
At his peak, his wealth was staggering. Over 1.1 billion taels of silver, equal to about $200 to $300 billion today, on par with Rockefeller or Musk. People even called him the Chinese Croesus. But when Qianlong died in 1799, protection vanished. His successor, the Jiaqing Emperor, moved fast. Heshen was arrested and his fortune seized. Enough to fund the Qing state for years, and at just 49 his candle also burned out. Number 3. Julius Caesar. Somewhere in ancient Rome, there was a boy dreaming of becoming the sole ruler of the Republic. This boy was Julius Caesar. Born in 100 BC into a patrician family, noble by name but not among the richest, young Caesar quickly showed his talents. He was a brilliant speaker, a skilled lawyer, and later, a ruthless military commander. With charm, alliances, and relentless ambition, he began to climb Rome's political ladder. But here's the catch. In Rome, politics wasn't just about speeches and ambition, it was about money. Caesar spent fortunes restoring monuments, throwing extravagant banquets, and putting on gladiatorial games. His strategy was clear: win the people with spectacle.
Do we really have to fight for our lives, just so this guy gets some votes on the next election?
Oh, man.
After all, the Romans had a saying: give them bread and games, and they will love you. The problem was, he didn't have the money. So he turned to Marcus Licinius Crassus, the richest man in Rome, who bankrolled Caesar's career. By 63 BC, Caesar was drowning in debt, owing sums equal to millions of dollars today. But the gamble paid off. Through his Gallic Wars, he conquered vast new territories, filled Rome with slaves and gold, and returned a hero. In 44 BC, he declared himself dictator for life. Now, his private net worth may have only been the equivalent of $10 to $15 billion today. But as Rome's supreme ruler, he effectively had access to everything: the state treasury, with hundreds of tons of gold and silver, the revenues of provinces like Spain and Egypt, and the tribute of conquered peoples. Historians estimate that Caesar controlled over 30% of the world's GDP. To put that in perspective, That's like one man today having single control over a $35 trillion economy, about 1.5 times the economy of the United States. Number 2. Cyrus the Great. At a time when the pyramids of Egypt had already stood for over 2,000 years, Cyrus II of Persia, also known as the Benevolent Conqueror for treating defeated kings and peoples with unusual respect, founded the Achaemenid Empire. It became the largest empire the world had ever seen, stretching from Central Asia to the Mediterranean, controlling the Silk Road, fertile Mesopotamia, and wealthy Anatolia. And in 546 BC, Cyrus defeated King Croesus of Lydia, a man so wealthy that even 2,500 years later, we still use the phrase as rich as Croesus. You can only guess the fortune Cyrus gained by seizing the treasury of the richest man alive at the time. At his peak, Cyrus controlled nearly 40% of the world's GDP, with all the taxes and revenues that came with it. That's basically like one man today controlling the economies of the United States, China, and Europe combined. Number 1. John D. Rockefeller. Born in 1839 as the second of 6 children to Mother Eliza, a devout and disciplined woman who held the family together, and his father, William Bill Rockefeller, better known by his colorful nicknames Big Bill or Devil Bill, who was the complete opposite. Bill wandered the country as a traveling huckster, selling miracle potions and fake cures. In today's words, he was the original snake oil salesman. So, young John's childhood was far from easy. He essentially grew up in a single-parent household with 5 siblings at a time, when the average American worker toiled 12 hours per day, 6 days a week, for just $1 a day. John D. himself later said, "From my father, I learned how to persuade people. From my mother, I learned how to save." Skills that would one day make him the first dollar billionaire in history. By 19, Rockefeller co-founded Clark Gardner and Company, trading groceries and grain. The Civil War brought booming profits from supplying the Union Army. But as demand faded, he turned to oil refining. As whale oil grew costly and kerosene demand exploded, Rockefeller transformed the industry, minimizing waste, monetizing byproducts, and reducing costs by producing his own barrels and pipes. By 1865, tensions with his partners boiled over. Rockefeller bought out the Clark brothers for $72,500, about $1.8 million today, calling it the day that determined my career. By modern standards, he was already a multimillionaire. But unlike today's Instagram course-selling coaches, Rockefeller didn't blow his fortune on Lamborghinis or trips to Dubai.
Bro, where are all the skyscrapers and crazy lights?
Bro, you are 200 years too early. We haven't even found oil yet.
All right, I'll see you then.
He reinvested carefully, positioning himself for the post-war industrial boom and America's westward expansion. In 1870, Rockefeller co-founded the Standard Oil Company of Ohio, which soon owned 2 Cleveland refineries. Then came the legendary Cleveland Massacre of 1872. And no, not that kind of massacre, relax. There weren't corpses on the street, just bankrupt competitors. Within weeks, Standard Oil absorbed 22 of the city's 26 refineries, consolidating power at a stunning pace. By the late 1870s, Standard Oil controlled more than 90% of U.S. refining. And in 1911, the Supreme Court broke it up into 34 companies, including Exxon, Mobil, and Chevron. But Rockefeller still owned over 25%. His shares soared, leaving him with a fortune of about $1 billion, equivalent to $300 billion today. Thanks for watching Decode This. Hit like, smash subscribe, and stay tuned for more videos.